This is about the Beast at Tower of Terror. Let's put on some spooky music. Do 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 do. Creepy cry. Ooh, I gave myself the chills. Gotta think of something happy. Giant pickle. Okay, we're back. I am at Coco and the King on Instagram, and this is the Coco and the Kingdom podcast. I saw that California Adventure had to put up signs in their Guardian of the Galaxy ride, which is the former Tower of Terror, because apparently TikTokers are just trying to figure out dumb ways to die and are loosening or taking off their seatbelts mid-ride, and do not do this. The last thing any of us needs when we're bouncing and dropping and filling ourselves with terror is Trevor and his dumb hat and toes and flip-flops flying around the cabin. Just no. Do not do this. Disney is obviously very serious about this because the sign doesn't say, like, don't do this, shame on you. It says something more like, don't do this, and if you do, we will banish you to the kingdom of nowhere. You're never getting another churro again, Kyle. And just like, why would you risk that? Everybody knows Disneyland has the best churros. Like, come on, get it together. You're making poor life choices. Just dial it back and think, Jiminy, is this a good idea? No. Jiminy will be like, no, it is not. Pinocchio. Something I have been wondering about is I never got to ride Tower of Terror. I only got to ride it as Guardians. And it seemed so different than Tower of Terror here in Florida. Mainly because all I remember was that we were pretty much in the elevator shaft the entire time. Just the bouncing and the dropping and the pulling. And here, it's a lot more elaborate than that. Like, you see different floors, and then you go through the stars room where it's like twinkle, 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 and it's creepy but cool. And then you kind of drive through the hotel before you ever get to the elevator shaft. So that didn't happen there that I remember, but am I remembering wrong? Was it like that when it was Tower of Terror and just changed for Guardians? Let me know. Since we're on the subject of Tower of Terror here at Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney World, I thought I'd share this story that I heard at a party. I'll start with, this story has not been verified. I have no idea if it actually happened, but it did entertain me, so I'm going to share it. It was a former cast member, and he was just talking about how cool it was to have been a cast member and different things that had happened. Like, one time, he got to meet John Stamos. Uncle Jesse say, what? Did we just become best friends? Yep. So that was kind of cool. And then he told this other story that I will title, The Beast of the Tower. Creepy music, creepy music. This was an elderly woman that I'll call Petunia, because that just seems to be her vibe. She gets on the ride with her friends and family, and they're all pumped up to ride this ride. Are you pumped up, Petunia? Yeah, girl, I'm pumped up. So she's back there buckling herself in appropriately because she is responsible. This was long before TikTok. She takes her tiny little hat with the Petunia sticking out of it, puts it in storage because, like I said, she's responsible. Okay, she didn't have any Petunia hat, but you can imagine it. And she goes through the ride, no problem, until it gets to the elevator part, the end, where they're dropping. Now, everybody's scared on this part. We know that because we could hear their screams and laughter throughout the park. Because the doors open, you hear them yelling. Like, it's not a good feeling. It's more of a bonding experience with your friends and family. Like, oh my gosh, you remember that time we thought we were going to die? So, ride stops. They assume she's just shook up because she didn't know that they were going to be dropping to their almost death. But it wasn't that. And cast members and the family are trying to see, like, why is she so upset? What happened during the ride? Does she need medical assistance? And she exclaims, a beast! He attacked me in the tower! Dun, dun, dun! And everybody was like, what? somebody get Grandma some water, because she is obviously going through something at this point in time. They did not think it was real, but she is adamant. She was sitting there, and a beast flew in, got up in her face, and then flew out. And all of the cast members are finally like, we got to tell somebody about this. So they stop the ride. They go and they look at footage to see what happened. And sure enough, there's Petunia back there, just having the time of her life, when a beast flew in, got all up in her face, was like, slap, 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 and then flew out. And they were like, oh no, that is definitely larger than a squirrel, smaller than a lion, but still, it's not good. And boom, the doors closed, and poor little Petunia sitting back there trying to use all her wizard powers to see in the dark. She's batting non-existent cobwebs, and then the doors open again. The beast of the tower came flying back in, and all she saw was long, hairy arms and giant eyes coming in here and beating her about the face. So she was like, falling. Can you imagine falling in the Tower of Terror, and a beast comes in and starts slapping you about? So the cast member gets Petunia some water, and everybody's gathering around to hear Petunia's story. And she's like, his eyes. I'll never forget his eyes. They were yellow like the sun, and his body was covered in hair, and he had enormous arms. And then everybody's like, oh my gosh, Petunia, what'd you do? How'd you get rid of him? And she was like, I decided I was going to face my fears. And I was like, beast, you will respect your elders. And then my Patronus shot out of my body, which is a duck-billed platypus, and the beast was gone. Like, right, she'd have a duck-billed platypus. You guys know that. And they are like, what in the world is happening? So then another cast member started becoming like Murder, She Wrote, and was like, hello, Mrs. Potts here. I just remembered that earlier in the day, that one guy lost his monkey. Let me explain. You know those little Velcro monkey or animals that go around your neck? Earlier in the day, somebody had ridden and not got it stored snugly enough or properly enough, and it flew out or got sucked out, and they didn't know where it went. So poor Petunia back there, just having a nice time at first, was the victim of a beast operated purely by suction. Because when those doors opened, it broke free from wherever it had been lodged and flew in there, slapped her about, and then when the elevator would drop, the suction would suck it back out of the window. So it was just like a constant back and forth. Poor little Petunia back there, just like, oh, what a wonderful day in the wonderful world of Disney. Let's ride this ride together, family, and talk about this at Christmas time in our letters. And something flies in. It's like, no, Petunia never talked about that again, I am certain. I mean, poor Petunia. What would she have been thinking when all this was happening? And even more so, nobody else really noticed because they're all falling in darkness. Like, you can barely see anything. Oh my gosh. Petunia, you are the real hero. So please remember to store your Velcro beasts appropriately and snugly in the provided compartments. Anywho, don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been a Coco and the Kingdom podcast. Thanks for listening.